Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay. Joe Biden. Okay. Here he is. And I say, man.
Trump derangement syndrome is in full effect as the woke left is imploding over the recent debate with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, along with the recent SCOTUS decision, and they just can't take it. As Piers Morgan on his show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, had on Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire and had to school Destiny and this other wokist on the real facts because the liberal media echo chamber always forgets to do its research. So today I've clipped out the best parts of this recent episode from Piers Morgan Uncensored, and Piers Morgan just embarrasses this wokist, Florence I think her name is, and Michael Knowles serves Destiny a bit of history and facts, but let's jump in and see what Piers Morgan and Michael Knowles had to say.
I just think has exposed himself as unfit for the highest office in the land. But what do? You know, there are 5 months left to the election. You either allow him to limp on, and I believe if that's the case, get crushed by Trump, or you try and parachute somebody else in, which carries with it, as Destiny was saying, its own risks.
Yeah, no, there's massive risks of replacing Joe Biden. That being said, I do think he should be replaced. And interestingly, Hunter Biden is the one family member that wants Joe Biden to not run again.
Why would anyone listen to him? I mean,
I think it's more I'm just saying
they're
it's more
listening to Hunter Biden, the crack addict.
You have everything going against Donald Trump, not just the fact that he will pass a national abortion ban, the fact that he wants to implement Project 2025 and abolish the Department of Education.
Here's the problem.
Let me finish.
But that isn't true. He's not said he wants to pass a national abortion ban. So, see, when I hear Democrats do that, it reminds me of Trump's the new Hitler. It's like, why exaggerate? Why go too far? He's never said he wants a national abortion ban.
Pay attention to the news that's happening right now. The far-right takeover of the judicial system in this country is already underway. And just today, they allowed a president to have immunity, total immunity, which means the Jack Smith case
actually, it wasn't
Donald
total
Trump
immunity. See,
doesn't go forward.
Francesca, look, with respect, again, you're massively exaggerating. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled
go to Project 2025
let me clarify for viewers,
Piers.
right? You said they've given him total immunity. They haven't. The Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump is partially immune from prosecution for actions taken while he was in the White House. They said that while the president's immune from criminal prosecution for official acts taken in office, he is not immune for unofficial acts. Big difference to total immunity. So
sure,
again, why exaggerate?
There is nothing to exaggerate here. What I'm saying
is about abortion and immunity.
So he's immune from stealing White House secrets after he leaves the office? Is that what you're saying? It's okay for him to keep
classified
documents?
You mean like Joe Biden did? But right now, the problem that the Democrats have is no one cares about Trump. And this is a guy with 91 criminal charges against him, right? But no one's talking about it. They're all talking about whether the guy currently in the White House can even know what day it is. That's the problem.
A lot of people would vote for a corpse over Donald Trump. That actually says more about Donald Trump than it does about Joe Biden. Let's go.
I like how Piers Morgan does at least try to bring on a bit of everyone on his show, but sometimes I wonder if these wokists think they're doing a good job when they do. Like, when they go in so hard, and then they have to be reminded of the real world and actual facts. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, do you understand how bad you look right now? I mean, you're listening to a crackhead like his opinion matters. All of your facts are basically wrong, and your derangement syndrome is so bad, you think a dead guy is better than Donald Trump. But let me know in the comments how crazy you think this person is, because, yeah, she's pretty off the charts. Now, next up, Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire is going to school this guy Destiny with some very calm, clear facts, because Destiny lives in the mainstream media bubble, and you can see how Michael Knowles' comments just eat at Destiny. Oh man, it just irks him. And people like Michael Knowles are far more informed, I think, and you can see that because they can bring the receipts.
One of those Supreme Court justices were literally lost by McConnell just robbing a president of the right to seat a judge. Nobody remembers that Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court for almost a full year. McConnell said, we're not going to have that hearing. That is indefensible.
Let me bring in Michael here.
Oh my God.
Tommy has to leave in a moment. So Michael, come to you, then come back to Tommy for a final wrap from her. But Michael.
Destiny, the principle that you're articulating that a president should be able to put a judge on the court in an election year, or rather that you say Mitch McConnell violated, was a rule first articulated by Joe Biden in the 90s when he was trying to kill George Bush's judges. So obviously there was a decision today. It said that the president has some immunity for criminal acts or acts committed in his official capacity as president. And this is based on a 40-year precedent. It really goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. Really nothing should be surprising about this. And yes, the Democrats are upset. They're
not
inveighing.
True. This is
Just
based
let me
on
finish
precedent.
1 second, Destiny. They're inveighing because they say we should be talking about the immunity case. Well, part of the articulation of I just was reading the decision was that, look, this is the first time that you've got a president who's being prosecuted in this way. And that's the problem, because the vast majority of Americans, right, left, and center, have been saying in survey after survey that they view the prosecutions of Trump as primarily politically motivated. They view this as kind of corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why Biden's poll numbers have been so bad for so long. And so they throw this Hail Mary to do a debate in June before either party has settled on a nominee. And it completely blew up in their face. And so no wonder people want to talk about it. You've got a political order that is fraying. You got a guy trying to put his opponent into an orange jumpsuit. And it turns out the guy who's trying to do that, it has applesauce for brains. No wonder people are concerned.
What the American people, a bit like the British, I think would be the same in this position. They can smell a political hit job. And the fact that the first case that was used against Trump to try and convict him and put him in prison involved a payoff to a porn star 20 years ago for a supposed one-night stand, or whether it happened or not, that just smelt to them like a massive overreach. Whether he did it or not, they didn't care. As though the idea that the first American president in history to ever be convicted of a crime in a criminal court is convicted over something so pathetic and trivial. The American people, the right-minded, reasonable people who are not in the kind of mad tribal ends of their parties, all went, well, that's ridiculous. And actually demeaning to the country.
The thing that Democrats suck on, that we're missing, is this blind allegiance to a leader, literally no matter what he does. It is the engine that powers Republicans. It allows them to lie for their leader. It allows them to excuse horrendous actions by their leader.
I think it's amusing that Destiny is talking to anybody else about blind loyalty when Democrats have been running some of these states and cities for decades and decades. California, New York, Illinois, Oregon. All of these places are now going to hell in a handbasket, and yet all of these people keep blindly supporting Democrats, blindly supporting the party, and blindly supporting the liberal media and all of this crap against Donald Trump, even though you've had 8 years of proven lies, conspiracies, and everything else to go with it, and yet you have the audacity and the gall to call people who support Republicans and Donald Trump blind. I mean, just think how ludicrous that statement is, but that is the bubble that these wokists and people like Destiny live in.
It allows them to look at a president and for after decades of saying, oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power. Say, well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution. Also, as a quick thing, you keep saying that, no, it's just partial immunity for official acts. What is an official act of the president? If you actually listen to the oral arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court, what that act even is and the ability to even probe for it is stuff right now that is now presumed to be immune.
Well,
for instance, just a real quick thing. When Donald Trump is asking Pence, hey, can you throw out the election because I don't like the results, which is a real thing that happened, by the way. As much as Trump's like to say that's not true, that is counted as an official action because these are the roles of the president and vice president, deciding how to count the electoral votes. That is insanity to me. If Biden were to do anything even remotely similar, Republicans would lose their minds.
Have you read the decision? I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and in part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members of Congress, yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying, hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers or something, that would probably be an unofficial crime, not related to his duties as president. And the reason that this matters and why it's really a moderate decision is because it goes back about 40 years to Nixon versus Fitzgerald, which found out that the president, yes, indeed, has quite a lot of immunity from at least from civil liability. And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to throw his rival into the clink, we didn't prosecute presidents because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictatorships. But the argument, and I'm sure you've read this, even if you've just read the first 25 pages, goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. It goes all the way back to the finding that the presidency does have certain privileges. It's not totally beholden to the other two branches of government. It's got an executive privilege. We have a separation of powers here. It goes back to the Federalist Papers when the framers of the Constitution said that they need a vigorous presidency because the problem with the first American Republic, which was the Articles of Confederation, was that you didn't have any strong executive power. So this is not something new. This is a perfectly in keeping with the American legal tradition. And now the Democrats are really upset about it, not because it's an upending of American jurisprudence, but because they're going to actually have to run on their guy. They're not going to be able to cheat and throw the guy in jail or take him out of banish him to St. Helena. They're going to have a fair and square election, and they know they're going to lose it.
Yeah,
Can I just ask a quick question? I just want to hear just a quick question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if a president were to order the assassination of a presidential opponent in an election, you're telling me that if he thinks it's for national security reasons, you defend that as being above any kind of review for criminal prosecution. You would say, well, that was an official act as president, right? I answer that. I really want to answer that question.
Obviously, Destiny.
I'm happy to answer you if you don't interrupt. You're bringing up one of the important questions that was raised during the oral arguments, and it's an argument against the case that Trump's team was making, but it doesn't really pertain to the actual judgment that came down because they didn't say that the president gets to do whatever he wants. He doesn't get to go and assassinate his rivals. He doesn't get to do this, that, or the other thing. But he does have
Sotomayor
a very
had that in her
robust
dissent.
scope.
She said he could do that, and it'd be beyond review. She put that in her dissent. I did read her dissenting opinion. So how would it be not part of the official job as president? They order drone strikes, don't they? They order the military, don't they? He's the commander in chief, isn't he? Why wouldn't he be able to order the strike and say, you can impeach me if you want, but you can't hold me criminally liable. This is my official act as president.
Sure. Well, I mean, even the aspect of impeachment is kind of secondary to that because the Trump team was arguing that if you want to go after a president at all, you've got to do it through impeachment. And the court said, no, you can actually prosecute former presidents for crimes that they committed in office. So the fever dream that you and other Democrats are creating of what this decision implies is not actually what the court said. The court gave a very moderate opinion that said that certain aspects that are conclusive and preclusive within the scope of the executive branch, he has full immunity, and he's got partial immunity around the peripheries, and then he could be criminally liable outside of that. And if you're asking why, President Trump standing on Fifth Avenue and shooting his rival in the face, how we could possibly prosecute him for that, I think you just don't have any faith in the American legal tradition. And I think you're making an absurd argument to try to justify something that actually does upend over 200 years of America.
But at the same time, he is the president of the United States, and he wants to run another 4 years. I mean, Destiny, with all the best will in the world, he'll be lucky to make it to election day. Never mind 4 more years. Can you imagine what Biden will be like in 4 years?
Listen, if they wheel that dude out and he's got an IV drip in him, I'm still voting for him over Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I'd rather Kamala Harris as much as I don't. Yeah, absolutely. What do you mean? It's the idea of not accomplishing anything versus heading off whatever direction Donald Trump wants to take us. Yeah.
If they literally wheel him out, you would still vote for him.
Kamala Harris, Jill could walk out on stage with an urn saying, "This is the president." Okay, Joe Biden. Okay. Here he is, and
Come
I say,
on.
"Man, this is really annoying."
He did.
Destiny, you can't be serious.
Joe Biden said he wanted to be FDR, so, die in office, I guess.
Destiny, you would vote for Joe Biden's urn with his ashes inside rather than Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Easiest decision in my life. 100%. Yeah.
Poor Kamala.
Let me know in the comments what you think about what Piers Morgan and Michael Knowles had to say to Destiny and this wokeness on Piers Morgan Uncensored, because as you can see, the Trump derangement syndrome is still in full effect, because if after all the proven lies and schemes about Donald Trump, you're still proudly willing to vote for a dead guy, considering what Joe Biden is doing to America right now, then yeah, you're still living in pure delusion. But please like, share, and comment. I appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe. Take care, and I'll see you next time.